Welcome everybody to the Codependency Show. Thank you for joining me today, and I hope the information you're finding is helpful on these short little tips on the show that I'm doing each week. So in the title you would have seen that it's put, have you ever crossed the line in relationships? So if you just bear with me a moment, I'm going to bring up an infographic. And this is what I'm going to talk about today. So what I mean about crossing the line is from healthy behaviours to feeding our addiction. Now, I think we all can explain this, is we cross the line when there's a lot of habits and behaviours that we do that we think are healthy and we think they're very noble. For example, let's take the top one of giving. Now, we all love to give, and I love to give as well. However, for years and years, I was giving for the wrong reasons. I was crossing the line to feed my own addiction or my low self-worth. I was over giving, and you can see on this side of the tree that's all healthy and flowering, and when we're doing it to feed our addiction, we die inside. So let's just take, as I say, giving, for example. Sometimes, and I used to do it, we'd give to be liked. We'd give to kind of like needing to be needed. We'd overgive. Oftentimes we'd do this in relation to spending far too much money on gifts to get approval, to get appreciation, all of those sort of things. So I call it crossing the line with our addictions. This can be, as you can see, with eating. I mean, all of these things, they're lovely things to do on one side when they're healthy. But when we cross the line, we're actually not giving for the reason we think we are. We might think we're giving to a person, but it crosses the line and we overgive because we're feeding our own low self-worth and our own addiction of codependency. I hope you kind of can get that and that makes sense. If not, of course, put some questions in the comments, and I certainly can go over. I could speak for days on this topic, and I'll probably do another one on this as well. Now, the thing is, we start to learn, first of all, we have to get honest, and then we start to learn to pull back from these behaviors that we're doing to feed our addiction. And so number one in this would be just pull back, check my motive. What's the motive for me for doing this? Am I doing it so they'll like me? And am I doing it for me to feel better, for me to get some juice out of it instead of a healthy giving for that? Eating's the same. Spending, that's another thing that we cross the line. Do we overspend on people? Do we cross the line with our own spending? Now, I find that if sometimes I might look at a purchase and I can feel my tummy, I can feel it, and it's like it's crossing the line for me. We overspend, we put money on our credit cards and things to get that quick fix. And we actually know, if we start to get honest, and if you learn about codependency from someone that understands it, you start getting connected to yourself and you ask yourself the question, what's my real motive for this? What am I really doing? That's where the getting honesty comes in, and that's where a coach can help you with that. And then we don't have to not give, but we pull back, or we pull these behaviors back to a healthy balance that we can manage. Because when we go across the line and we're feeding our addiction, it topples us, and then we go down and down in a spiral. So this can be giving love. We can over and over give love. When love is pain, which it can be addictive, it's not love at all, it's addiction. So, I've heard people say, well, if I just love them more, by perhaps taking over their responsibilities, which makes us feel better. We feel we're doing it for them, and it's not healthy, but we get the juice out of it. It feeds our codependency. Drugs and alcohol, again, Some of these things are all okay. But when we cross the line, we all know that someone might have 1 or 2 drinks, and then when they cross the line and it's feeding their own addiction, they can't stop. It doesn't turn out well, does it? Yeah, so when we're crossing the line, we want to check back, we want to get honest, and we want to ask ourselves, what is my motive? What am I really, really doing this for? Am I doing it? Am I paying for someone's rent when they're spending money on lots of other things that suit them, and they say, I haven't got the money for rent, but really they do. They're just choosing to spend the money on what they value the highest. So am I paying their rent money to make me feel better because I'm scared they'll lose their unit, their house, their mortgage, or their car payment? That sort of thing. And when we start to do this, I want to warn you that there's withdrawal in this, because we're used to feeding our addiction of codependency. So I hope just to give you a picture of that today, number one, the call to action is, before you do an action, ask yourself, what is my real motive? Oftentimes our motive is to give ourselves relief emotionally. And so we're not doing it to actually help the other person. We're doing it to feed our own addiction of codependency, or we go into worry or fear and we short circuit other people's learnings. So I'd like you to just get that title in your head and just start to, if you could, just really simply go, what's my real motive? Am I crossing the line from a healthy behavior? We all love to give. We all love going out eating. It's great to spend, we love to spend, but when we cross the line, it causes us problems. So that's your take home today, is to ask yourself that question and get as honest as you can. And if you do are in the habit of doing these things, or doing things for people, or overgiving, or being a martyr, or it might be being too busy. It's all sorts of things that where we cross the line and we don't feel good afterwards. We might get the rush of it giving us some relief, but then we don't feel good afterwards. So we can especially think about that with spending. It's all very well to like go to the shopping mall and then we overspend too much. We've crossed the line for what our budget allows, and it's all fine for a little while. It gives us a quick fix for a while and we feel a high, but then when the credit card comes in, or we haven't got enough money to pay for the food or our other expenses for the next week, it causes us more emotional problems. So I hope that helps today. And again, thank you for listening. And please put if there's any confusion around this, I'd love to answer your questions. And have a good week. And I will look forward to seeing you next week. Thank you. Bye.